If America were to ignore all of the things that are going on in our society today, the reality is we would be thought of as being a heartless people. It would be as if we lost our soul. Now listen, I'm not here to be political. I don't try to ever be that. But I do want to say that no matter what side a person is on, there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. And what happens is we need to all go to the answer that's always been for all of eternity, and that is God's way, and it's found in God's book, and you and I need to be drawn to it, and we need to live that out, and if we will live that out, all of the other things in this life will take care of themselves in your personal life. Now, we can have peaceful relationships. We can live in harmony. We must be wise in the way that we treat each other. There should never be an acceptance of, oh, that's just the way it is, when people are living inappropriately. We need to follow the owner's manual. And as I prepared for the lessons in this series, I want to say that I'm actually a little bit astounded at just how relevant the teachings of James are each and every week that I look at them. They are point on with the issues that we face. And in James chapter 3, we come to a passage that gives us the secrets of getting along. James chapter 3 is extremely relevant concerning what is happening in our world today. Let me walk us through James chapter 3, verses 13 through 18, to help us get a feel for what a peace-planting faith looks like. If you would turn to verse 13, do you have a faith that plants seeds of peace? It says this: who among you is wise and understanding? By his good conduct he should show that his works are done in the gentleness that comes from wisdom. Now let me pause on that point for just a moment. I'd like to point out a couple things. First, God wants us to know that wisdom is seen in our relationships. Whether you are wise or whether you are foolish does not show up on a written test in school. Whether you are wise or foolish shows up in how you relate to the people in your life. And God would have you to understand that. Wisdom shows up in how you relate to others. No matter how much money you make, no matter how successful you are in the eyes of the world, if you think that strained relationships don't matter, then I would say you are not as wise as you think you are. A second mark of wisdom is humility. God tells us through James that I am being foolish if I approach life with an arrogant, prideful spirit. Let me pick back up with the end of verse 13 and then verses 14 and 15. By his good conduct, he should show that his works are done in the gentleness, that is humility there, that comes from wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your heart, don't boast and deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. In other words, selfishness and bitterness and envy are from the world. They're not from God. It is from your unspiritual nature. It is from the devil himself. God makes it clear, if I allow selfishness, jealousy, bitterness in my relationships, I am being foolish and unwise. James continues in verse 16. I believe I made that wrong here on the screen. That should be 3:16 up there. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there is disorder in every evil practice. So when we see evil and disorder practices in your home, at your work, in your school, or in society in general, it is rooted in these attitudes of envy and selfish ambition. Fortunately, James teaches us the secrets of being wise. We are to be wise peacemakers in relationships. And I want to try to make this as practical as I can. But look now at verses 17 and 18 of James chapter 3. But the wisdom from above, that is the wisdom from God, is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without pretense. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who cultivate peace. Now, when peacemakers sow seeds of peace, God says we will see the fruit of righteousness. That is filled with truth. Peace and righteousness go together. You can't have one without the other. Righteousness can be defined as justice. You can't have real peace in the world without justice in the world. They go together. Peace and justice. You plant seeds of peace and then you harvest justice. Now, I want you to see how to plant seeds of peace in your relationships. Next week, I ask you to do everything you can and to encourage anybody that you're friends with to be here for next week's message. I'm going to break from James just for that week. I want to make sure that I kind of help you capture as we get ready to go into November, what's ahead for us as a church family. So I'm asking you, with all that you are, try to be here for next Sunday morning's service. And then the week after that, I will pick back up with some of what I'm sharing with you today. But for now, let me just address this idea. Every day and in every relationship, we can plant seeds of peace. What are you sowing in your relationships right now? You know, the truth is we can sow seeds of peace or we can sow seeds of anger, seeds of distrust, seeds of impatience, seeds of criticism, seeds of pride. Whatever seed I sow, I will reap. And that is why this message is so important. By now, you're probably thinking, okay, Pastor, I get it. How do I plant seeds of peace? James gives us that answer in verse number 17. And I want you to see 6 things here. If you are going to be a peacemaker in your home, at your work, in your school, in your family, in your world, you need to learn these 6 principles. The reality is, we often treat others foolishly. In fact, we often relate in unwise, in self-defeating ways. Are you ready? Let's look at 6 seeds of peace. You can use this as a checklist of how you're doing in your own life. He says all of this comes from His wisdom. Number 1, if you want to be a peacemaker, if I am wise, I will not compromise the truth. Look at James 3:17. The first things it says there, wisdom from above is first pure. Real wisdom is pure. Now, what is James talking about? He is telling us that we must always tell the truth, the pure truth of God. Proverbs 15:26 says, pleasant words are pure, words that are truthful, not words that are dishonest, not words that are false, not words that are lies. To be a peacemaker, I show my wisdom by always telling the truth. Wisdom does not lie. I'm not going to cheat you. I'm not going to trick you. I'm not going to cheat you or to take advantage of you. I'm not going to try to deliberately deceive you. I'm not going to mislead you. Why do you think God started here? I believe with all my heart because relationships are built on trust, and trust only comes when we speak the truth. And God wanted us to understand that it is the bedrock. Wisdom is pure, truthful, honest. It has integrity. Dr. Leonard Keeler invented the lie detector. And after testing over 25,000 people on the lie detector, do you know what he concluded? He concluded that every human being has the tendency to be dishonest. Now, although we may be naturally dishonest, God doesn't want us to stay that way. In Ephesians 4:15, Paul says, "But speaking the truth in love, let us grow in every way into Him who is the head, Christ." God wants us to grow into the character of Jesus, and that starts by telling the truth in love. If I am wise, I will not compromise the truth. Number 2, if I am wise, I will not antagonize your anger. I won't antagonize you. The second phrase in James 3:17 says wisdom from above is what? Peace-loving. Not just pure, but peaceful. What does that mean? Wise people are intentional when it comes to maintaining peace. They work at maintaining harmony. They are not looking for a fight. Do you get offended easily? Peacemakers are not defensive all the time. They do not carry a chip on their shoulder. And if I'm stepping on your toes a little bit right here, forgive me. But over and over and over again, God says, if I am wise, I will avoid arguments. Why? Because arguments simply antagonize anger. Proverbs 23, honor belongs to the person who ends a dispute, but any fool can get himself into a quarrel. And evidence of wisdom is staying out of arguments. Proverbs 14:29, a patient person shows great understanding, but a quick-tempered one promotes foolishness. Now, you know this is to be true, but it is hard to live out. Even though we know it's the truth, it's hard to live it out in our lives. What causes arguments? Why do we get in them? I could give you a long list, but for the sake of time, let me just give you 3 ideas so that you can kind of think about some of your own relationships and why maybe you're in these battles at times. Number 1, comparing. The moment I say to you, you are just like so-and-so, or why can't you be just like so-and-so? And I try to compare you to other people, I am setting us up for a disagreement. We lay this judgment on people based on others, and God says, don't do that. Condemning is the second one. You know it's all your fault, or you should be ashamed of yourself. When we lay guilt on someone, it will lead to a disagreement, to an argument. Don't compare, don't condemn. A third one is contradiction. Don't contradict. Contradicting causes us to get into arguments. What do I mean by contradicting? When you interrupt someone in the middle of a sentence to correct a detail, that would be a form of contradiction. It irritates people, it agitates them. When you're in the middle of an argument, don't sweat the small stuff. If somebody gets a detail wrong, don't worry about it. William James, a famous psychologist, said, wisdom is the art of knowing what to overlook. Now, I confess to you, when I read even these first 2 points, I realize that there is a balance between telling the truth and not antagonizing people. Sometimes the truth confronts, but even when it does, it has to be done in love, in respect, in honor. God will help the person find that balance when that person stays in His Word and seeks His will. Number 3, if I am wise, I will not minimize your feelings. That is the third seed of planting a world that is peaceful. The Bible says wisdom from above is gentle. In other translations, it says real wisdom is courteous. Real wisdom is considerate. Considerate simply means being mindful of the feelings of other people. You are not just thinking about your own feelings. You're not just thinking about your own agenda. You're not just thinking about your own goals, your own needs, your own hurts, your own interests. A most common mistake in relationships, in marriage, in friendship, and any other relationship you have is to invalidate another person's feelings because it's not what I feel. I don't have a fear of this or a concern over this, so what you feel must be foolish. When we start thinking like that, we are diminishing, minimizing another's feelings. To think that I know what it feels like to be black, or to be homeless, or to be rich, or to be a female is foolish on my part, because I am not any of those things. So I should not minimize the feelings when they speak to me about where they're at. Now let me read to you a short article by Rick Warren. It is called Yes, But What About? Yes, But What About? One of the reasons so many marriages end in disaster, so many kids are estranged from their parents, so many citizens are fractured in angry divisions, is because we have never been taught how to acknowledge someone's pain without getting defensive. When they are in pain and you say, yes, but what about, you invalidate that person's feelings by contrasting it with some other problem. That is certainly not your best response. That is certainly not what we are going to do if we want to keep peace. Can we not sit for a minute and validate their pain? You may not feel it. You didn't experience it. You may not even think it's valid. However, can you not sit without being defensive? Must you immediately excuse it away? Must you compare it to somebody else's problem or pain? Anytime we respond to hurt or fear or pain with, yes, but what about, you have minimized their feelings. Wisdom from above is gentle. I want to challenge us. Next time somebody expresses a negative emotion, instead of immediately getting defensive, absorb the pain for just a moment. That is called love. It is also called spiritual maturity. Romans 15, 1 through 3 says this: Now we who are strong have an obligation to bear the weaknesses of those without strength, and not to please ourselves. Each one of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to build him up. For even Christ did not please himself. Can we be like Jesus and realize that we have the strength to absorb another's pain? Be Christ-like and fulfill Galatians 6:2. Carry one another's burdens. In this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. And what is that law? We learned it recently. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you really want to be a peacemaker, do not compromise the truth. Do not antagonize anger. Do not minimize feelings. And number 4, if I am wise, I will not criticize your suggestions. We could save a lot of problems if we could just do this one. Wisdom from above is compliant. The Greek word here is eupethys, and it is only used one time in the entire Bible, right here. It literally means you are open. The RSV translation says you're open to reason. You're not defensive. Living Bible says it allows discussions and is willing to yield to others. To not be defensive means you are reasonable. A wise person can learn from others. If you are stubborn, if you are closed-minded, you are then unteachable. A wise person can learn. This is needed in our world today. Our political parties will not listen to each other. Can your wife reason with you? Are you one of those people who say, don't confuse me with the facts, my mind is made up? If you're going to be wise, to be a peacemaker, you must be open to reason. You know, one thing about going away on vacations is you have time apart from all that's going on to evaluate, think, process what may be ahead. And as Bunny and I were gone these last few days, we had some discussions. And as she shares her thoughts with me, often I find myself not thinking the same way she does. And I know no other husband and wife have that issue, I'm sure. But when we don't think alike, it's what do you do with that? How do you work through that? How do you approach it without frustrating each other, trying to talk it through? Because these are big issues. Because not only do some of these issues affect her and I, they affect every one of you sitting in here, because they have to do with the church and where God has taken us and what are the things that we're going to do. And so as we process all of that, you know, we've got to be careful not to criticize what other people would say. We've got to be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak, and process it through. And God wants us to know how important this is in our lives. I heard about a new pastor who went to a church. He had just come out of seminary. And he got to that church, and because he'd never really been a preacher before, he told his leadership, he says, hey, listen, if I don't do well, you need to tell me. I need to learn. This is all new to me. And so I'm open to any suggestions at all. And so that first Sunday, he stood there and he delivered what he thought was a powerful message. And he got all done, and one of the guys came up to him and said, Pastor, that stunk. That's not very constructive criticism. You can do that a little better than that. But and so this pastor, he didn't want to diminish anybody else's thoughts or put off their suggestions. And so he said, okay, if it stunk, tell me why. And the man said, well, I'll give you 3 reasons. Number 1, you read it. Number 2, you read it poorly. Number 3, it wasn't even worth being read at all. And so another member heard what took place and came up to him and wanted to help him feel a little bit better and says, Pastor, don't worry about old Jim. He only repeats what everybody else is saying. Sometimes we open ourselves up for suggestions, and they may not be what we want to hear. But we have to receive them with the heart in which they're given to us. When we are open, we must not be defensive. We learn not to take everything personally. Don't get offended. Proverbs 12:15. A fool's way is right in his own eyes, but whoever listens to counsel is wise. Do you want to be a peacemaker in your home, at work, between races, in the world? Do not compromise the truth. Do not antagonize anger. Do not minimize feelings. Do not criticize suggestions. Number 5, if I am wise, I will not emphasize your mistakes. In James 3:17, the next phrase says, wisdom from above is what? Full of mercy and good fruits. It is full of mercy. It is forgiving. It is gracious. It is helpful. Do you find that you are quick to point out everything that's wrong in the world? Are you quick to point out what is wrong with your church? Do you jump on every mistake and error? Do you feel duty-bound to let people know what is not working? Are you picky about everything? Mercy is a mark of wisdom. Mercy is giving people what they need, not what they deserve. When somebody stumbles, You don't judge them, you encourage them. Mercy is treating people the way God treated you and I. Proverbs 17:9 says, whoever conceals an offense promotes love, but whoever gossips about it separates friends. Love forgets mistakes. That is what is wise to do in a relationship. There's a story about Ruth Graham. Buddy and I had the joy of going to the Cove up in Asheville, North Carolina this week. And story about Ruth Graham, it's one of where a woman reminded Ruth of a big mistake that Billy had made. And Ruth was quiet for a minute. And then she replied, I distinctly remember choosing to forget about that. See, a wise person shows mercy and does not emphasize mistakes. That leads to number 6. If I am wise, I will not despise our differences. Stay with me, this is a big one. One of the biggest sources of conflict in marriage, in every other relationship, is that we want to and even expect others to think like we do, to feel like we do, to act like we do. We want them to have the same priorities. We want them to have the same perspective. What's the problem here? We forget that God made us all different. Every puzzle piece is cut a little bit different. And when they all come together, then it is complete. The last phrase in James 3:17, wisdom from above is unwavering, without pretense. In today's English version, it translates, real wisdom is free from prejudice and hypocrisy. If I'm hypocritical, if I'm prejudicial, I am not being wise. I addressed this in detail last week. You can find the sermon on our channel. You must all ask God to help us be free from prejudice. Romans 15:7. Therefore, welcome one another just as Christ also welcomed you to the glory of God. I'm going to ask that those that are here that don't know you, that are not certain of their salvation, that have never surrendered to you, would at this very moment examine where they are in their life. And they would realize that apart from Jesus Christ, there is an eternal separation from God the Father. And that at this moment they would come to a place of certainty, a place of commitment to Jesus. They would appreciate what He did for them on the cross, and that they would yearn to spend eternity in heaven. Father, I ask now that each person that's here would recognize your love for them and your desire for them to spend eternity in heaven. Lord God, I love you and I thank you for who you are and what you're doing in our lives. I ask you now to take this message to encourage the hearts of those that have heard it and to bring us each to a response of faith, of certainty, of your love for us and your desire to pull us to yourself. Lord, in just a second, we're going to stand, we're going to sing. If there is anyone here who needs Jesus in their life, may they come to a place of salvation. Father God, we love you. We're grateful for you. And as we stand and sing, this is your time. Call us to yourself. In your precious and holy name we pray. Amen. Let's stand, let's sing.
All to Jesus I surrender. All to Him I freely give. I will ever love surrender. Humbly at his feet I bow. Worldly pleasures all forsaken. Take me, Jesus, take me now. I surrender all. I surrender all. Oh, to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender.
Before we sing one more verse, I'm going to ask that some of those that I call out here that have completed Class 101 and others that may have been baptized, if you'd come up here with me so that we can acknowledge what God is doing. Janice Perkins, Sean Fittigan, Lynette Anderson, Lachey Carr, Sandy Breeden, James Hicks, Carrie, Reba Bennett, Glenn Breeden, Robin Cowles, Jerry Perkins. I'm blessed by these that have all gone through Class 101 with me here recently, and want to certainly be blessed. And Lachey, Sandy, I see. There's Glenn right there. There we go. Carrie, Reba, Glenn. I'll give you Sandy's. You know, God has blessed us with many that have Robin and Lynn. All right, we've got Jerry and Janice. We are blessed by them. God has blessed us as these have finished Class 101, and we're in Class 201 with us today. And we continue to watch God do a great and mighty work. And it just says that they completed Christian Life and Service Seminar 101, Discovering Church Membership. It all begins at the foot of the cross. If Adam Sanders, Katrina Newark, Jaden, or Nathaniel Locklear are here, if you would come forward also. Those are for baptism. All right, let's sing one more verse and then we'll close.
Oh, to Jesus I surrender. Make me Savior, wholly thine. Let me feel the Holy Spirit. Truly know that thou art mine. I surrender all. I surrender all. Oh, to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all.
Pray that you have a wonderful day. There are Christmas boxes here on the tables. If you would, for Operation Christmas Child, thank you to Sandy and the many who have helped with that. And we're blessed. Have a wonderful day. Look forward to seeing you soon. Some of you I have appointments with this afternoon for as our church moves forward. I look forward to seeing you then. God bless you.